welcome to Visions Beyond. And a very warm welcome to this deep dive. It's tailored just for you. Oh, and hey, before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Visions Beyond so you never miss a thing. Today we're going to be exploring something pretty important, the connection between diabetes and glaucoma. We've got a whole bunch of different sources, medical articles, patient resources, even some pieces that really make you think about how these two conditions can impact your life.
Yeah, it's quite the collection. We're going to try to get to the bottom of how these two things are linked and what you can do about it.
Exactly. We know that millions and millions of people are living with diabetes. But what does that actually mean for their eye health, specifically their risk of developing glaucoma?
That's really the big question here. And the thing is, having diabetes, it actually triples your risk of developing glaucoma. So if you have diabetes, you're 3 times more likely to experience vision loss than someone who doesn't.
Wow, triple the risk. That's a pretty serious statistic. So for those who might not be as familiar with it, what exactly is glaucoma? Why is it such a big concern?
Glaucoma, it's often called the silent thief of sight because he can really sneak up on you. It's not just one thing. It's actually a whole group of eye diseases. And they all damage the optic nerve, which is like the cable that connects your eye to your brain, sending those visual signals. And the scary part is you often don't even realize anything's wrong until you've already lost a lot of vision.
Yeah, that sounds pretty scary. So we've got these two things, diabetes and glaucoma, seemingly separate conditions. But our sources, they make it really clear that they're definitely linked. So why is that?
Well, let's start with diabetes. It's basically when your body struggles to use sugar for energy because it can't use insulin effectively. And this leads to high blood sugar, which can actually damage blood vessels all over your body, including in your eyes. And that damage in the eye, it can disrupt the balance of fluid and pressure, which is where glaucoma comes in.
So it's almost like that high blood sugar from diabetes. It creates this ripple effect, ultimately impacting the fluid in your eye
Uh-huh.
and making you more susceptible to glaucoma.
Exactly. And then there's another layer to this. Diabetes can also cause something called diabetic retinopathy. Think of it like this: retinopathy is when the tiny blood vessels in your retina, that's the back part of your eye that actually senses light, those get damaged because of that high blood sugar. And sometimes these damaged vessels can actually block the normal flow of fluid in your eye, which increases the pressure even more. And that can lead to a type of glaucoma called neovascular glaucoma.
Okay, so we've got high blood sugar potentially causing these pressure problems, and then we've got retinopathy potentially making things even worse. It really sounds like diabetes stacks the deck against you when it comes to your eye health.
Yeah, it definitely increases the risk quite a bit. And it's not just about blood sugar and pressure. Diabetes can also trigger all sorts of problems in the body. Things like inflammation and oxidative stress. It's kind of like a low-grade internal fire that's constantly burning. And this fire can actually damage the optic nerve directly, on top of the damage that's caused by high pressure.
So it's a double whammy for people with diabetes. Their risk is higher A&D. They're facing these additional factors that can worsen the condition. It can all feel a bit overwhelming, to be honest. So where do we even begin to tackle this? What are the first steps someone with diabetes should take to protect their vision?
Well, the first step is awareness. Understanding this link between diabetes and glaucoma, that's key. And luckily, there's a lot you can do to actually minimize your risk. Early detection is absolutely crucial. Since glaucoma often doesn't have any noticeable symptoms early on, regular eye exams, those are your best defense.
That makes a lot of sense. But what exactly are eye doctors looking for during those exams? How do they actually diagnose glaucoma?
Well, there are a few key tests. They'll start by checking your eye pressure using a quick test called tonometry, you know, the one with the puff of air, and they'll take a close look at your optic nerve using a special instrument to check for signs of damage or changes in the shape.
Ah, yes, the infamous puff of air test. I always wondered what that was actually measuring. So it's not just about how strong the puff is, it's about the pressure reading, right?
Right, that pressure reading can tell us a lot about the health of your eye.
Okay, so pressure and the optic nerve, got it. What else is involved in these glaucoma detecting eye exams?
Well, they'll also map out your field of vision using a test called perimetry. This one helps identify any blind spots or areas of vision loss, especially in your peripheral vision, which is often the first to be affected by glaucoma.
It's got comprehensive assessment of your eye health, specifically looking for signs of glaucoma. But let's say glaucoma is diagnosed. What happens then? What are the options for managing this condition?
Well, the good news is there are many ways to manage glaucoma. The first line of defense is usually prescription eye drops that can help lower the eye pressure. And for people with diabetes, managing your blood sugar is absolutely crucial to slowing down any further damage to that optic nerve.
So it sounds like a two-pronged approach. tackling the glaucoma directly with the eye drops, and addressing the root cause by managing the diabetes.
Precisely. It's about working with your healthcare team to create a plan that addresses your specific needs.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've got these initial steps for managing it. But what about the long term? Are there any new treatments on the horizon, especially for those with diabetes?
There are some really exciting developments that could revolutionize glaucoma treatment, especially for those with diabetes. Researchers are exploring ways to protect the optic nerve from further damage. That's called neuroprotection. They're also looking at gene therapies that could potentially correct the underlying causes.
So it's not just about lowering eye pressure anymore. It's about protecting the nerve itself
Yeah,
and potentially even addressing the genetic factors. That's a game changer.
absolutely. And then there's the rise of artificial intelligence in eye care. Imagine a world where you could just snap a photo of your eye with your smartphone and get an instant risk assessment for glaucoma.
Wow, that would be pretty cool. It would make things so much easier. It sounds like the future of glaucoma treatment is incredibly promising. But for now, the key takeaway is that people with diabetes, they need to be proactive about their eye health, right?
Exactly. Regular eye exams, managing your blood sugar, knowing your family history of glaucoma, those are all crucial steps you can take to protect your vision.
This has been so insightful already, and we've only just scratched the surface. But before we delve deeper into those cutting-edge treatments and discuss what it's actually like to live with both diabetes and glaucoma, we'll take a quick pause. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how important early detection is for glaucoma, especially for those living with diabetes.
Absolutely, and we touched on some of the tests involved in diagnosing glaucoma. But I'm curious to learn more. Can you walk us through what those tests are actually like and what kind of information they provide?
Of course. So remember that first test, tonometry, the one with the puff of air, it's measuring the pressure inside your eye, which is called intraocular pressure, or IOP, and this is a key indicator for glaucoma.
Right, the puff of air test. Quick, but not exactly the most pleasant part of the eye exam.
I hear you, but it's a vital piece of information. Then there's ophthalmoscopy, where the doctor uses a special instrument to actually look at the back of your eye, specifically the optic nerve. They're checking for any structural changes or damage that might suggest glaucoma.
So it's like they're getting a close-up view of the very structure that's under attack from glaucoma.
Exactly. And then we have perimetry, or the visual field test. This one is fascinating because it maps out your entire field of vision, showing any blind spots or areas where you've lost peripheral vision. It's like a detective uncovering the subtle clues of glaucoma's impact on your sight.
Okay, so we've got the pressure check, the optic nerve exam, and this visual field mapping. Anything else in the glaucoma detective's toolkit?
There are a couple more. Gonioscopy, for instance, lets the doctor look at the drainage angle in your eye where the fluid flows out. It's like checking the plumbing system to see if there's a blockage contributing to pressure buildup.
Interesting. So it's not just about the pressure itself, but also about understanding the drainage system and how well it's functioning.
Precisely. And finally, there's OCT, or optical coherence tomography. This one uses light waves to create a 3D image of your optic nerve and retina. It's incredibly detailed, allowing your doctor to see the thickness of the nerve fibers and detect even the tiniest changes that might be missed with other tests.
Wow, technology has come a long way when it comes to eye care. So with all these tests, we can get a really clear picture of what's happening in the eye. But let's shift gears back to treatment for a bit. We talked about eye drops and managing blood sugar. But our sources also mentioned some emerging treatments. That sounds pretty futuristic. Can you tell us more about those?
Of course. One of the most exciting areas is neuroprotection. This involves finding ways to protect the optic nerve itself from further damage, rather than just focusing on lowering eye pressure. There's a lot of research going into drugs and therapies that could potentially slow down or even halt the progression of glaucoma.
That's incredible. It's like shifting from a defensive strategy to a more proactive, protective approach.
Exactly. And then there's gene therapy, which is like science fiction becoming reality. Scientists are working to identify the specific genes involved in glaucoma and develop therapies that can correct or replace those genes.
So we could potentially treat glaucoma at its root, addressing the genetic factors that make someone susceptible to the condition.
That's the hope. It's still early days for gene therapy in glaucoma, but the potential is enormous.
It's amazing to think about what the future holds. Our sources also mentioned something about artificial intelligence being used in glaucoma detection. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. AI is already making waves in eye care. Researchers are developing algorithms that can analyze images of the optic nerve and retina, potentially detecting glaucoma even earlier than human doctors. Imagine a future where you could just snap a photo of your eye with your phone and get an instant glaucoma risk assessment.
That would be amazing. It would make staying on top of your eye health so much easier. And it's not just about detection, right? AI is also being used to personalize treatment plans and predict how someone might respond to different therapies.
You got it. It's about using AI to tailor treatments to the individual, leading to better outcomes and potentially fewer side effects.
It's incredible to see how technology is transforming healthcare, especially for something as delicate as eye health. But while we're waiting for those futuristic treatments to become widely available, what can people do right now to protect their vision, especially if they're living with diabetes?
The fundamentals are still crucial. Manage your blood sugar diligently. Working with your doctor to keep your A1C levels within a healthy range. If you smoke, quitting is one of the best things you can do for your overall health, including your eye health.
So those lifestyle factors really do make a difference.
They absolutely do. And of course, regular comprehensive eye exams are non-negotiable. Early detection is key. And your eye doctor is your best ally in this fight against glaucoma.
It sounds like it's all about being proactive, informed, and working closely with your healthcare team to create a personalized plan. But as we move towards wrapping up this deep dive, I want to shift our focus a bit. We've talked a lot about the medical aspects of glaucoma and diabetes, but I'm curious to hear more about the human side of this story.
That's a great point. It's one thing to understand the science, but it's another to grasp how these conditions actually impact people's daily lives.
Exactly. So when we come back, we'll explore the emotional and practical challenges that people with glaucoma, especially those also managing diabetes, might experience. We'll also discuss valuable resources and support systems available to help people thrive despite these challenges. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've been exploring this connection between diabetes and glaucoma, covering the science behind the latest treatments. But now I kind of want to shift gears and talk about something equally important, the human experience of living with these conditions.
Yeah, that's such an important aspect to address. It's easy to get caught up in the medical details, but we can't forget that behind those diagnoses are real people facing very real challenges.
Exactly. So let's dive into that human side of the story. What are some of those practical and emotional hurdles that people with glaucoma, especially those also managing diabetes, what might they encounter?
Well, imagine losing your peripheral vision, your ability to see things off to the side. Simple things like driving, reading, even walking down a crowded street, they can become incredibly difficult, even dangerous.
I can only imagine how frustrating it must be. To deal with vision loss on top of managing diabetes, it's like having to juggle two really challenging conditions at once.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's the emotional toll. It's natural to feel anxious, frustrated, even angry when you're dealing with vision loss, especially on top of managing another health condition like diabetes. There's a lot to process, both practically and emotionally.
It's so important to acknowledge those feelings.
Yeah.
And not just try to brush them aside. So what kind of support systems are out there for people who are navigating these challenges?
Thankfully, there are many resources available. Support groups, both in person and online, can be really helpful. They provide a safe space to connect with others who understand exactly what you're going through. You can share experiences, learn coping strategies, and, just find strength in knowing you're not alone.
Yeah, that sense of community, I imagine, can be so powerful. What about professional help? Is therapy helpful in these situations?
Absolutely. A therapist can help you process those emotions, develop healthy coping mechanisms, and adjust to life with vision loss. They can also provide some really practical tips for managing stress and maintaining your independence.
It sounds like there's a whole network of support out there waiting to be tapped into. But what about practical advice for daily life? Are there any tips or tools that can make things easier for someone with both glaucoma and diabetes?
Definitely. One simple tip is to increase contrast in your environment. This could mean using brightly colored tape to mark stairs or doorways, choosing dishes and utensils that contrast with your tablecloth, or using a black marker to write on white paper instead of blue or green ink.
Those are great ideas. Small changes can make a big difference. What about assistive devices?
Oh, there are so many incredible devices available now. Magnifiers, talking clocks, screen readers. Technology has really opened up a world of possibilities for people with vision impairments. And the great thing is that a lot of these devices are becoming more and more affordable and user-friendly all the time.
It's amazing how assistive technology can really empower people to live more independently and have more fulfilling lives. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key message that you want our listeners to take away, especially those who are living with or concerned about diabetes and glaucoma?
I think the most important thing is to remember that you're not alone. There are resources, support systems, and even technological advancements that can help you navigate these conditions and live a full and meaningful life.
I love that. It's about taking charge of your health, seeking support when you need it, and focusing on what you can control rather than dwelling on what you can't.
Exactly. And never underestimate the power of hope. Research is constantly moving forward. New treatments are being developed all the time. The future of glaucoma and diabetes management is looking brighter every day.
This has been such an enlightening conversation. We've covered so much ground from the basics of glaucoma and diabetes to the latest diagnostic and treatment options, and even explored those emotional and practical aspects of living with these conditions. But knowledge is only powerful if it's put into action. So our challenge to you, dear listener, is this. Take what you've learned today and use it to advocate for your own eye health. Schedule that eye exam, have an open and honest conversation with your doctor. Explore the resources that are available to you. Your vision is precious and it's worth protecting.
Couldn't agree more. And remember, even small steps can make a big difference in safeguarding your sight.
And on that note, this concludes our deep dive into diabetes and glaucoma. We hope you found it informative and empowering. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Visions Beyond for more insightful deep dives on all things eye health. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep those eyes healthy.